In this video, you're going to learn the next step to simplifying exponents. So I have here just a reminder. And how do we simplify x cubed y to the fourth x to the fourth y squared? Remember, we go ahead and expand that out. So we're going to write that as x times x times x, and then y 4 times, because it's y to the fourth, and then x 4 times, and then y 2 times. And then we're going to combine that are like terms. So we have these x's and these x's. So if we count those, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 x's. So we're going to write x to the 7th power. We have these y's, and we're going to count those. So we have y, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So y to the 6th. So that right there would be your answer to that simplified. So now on to dividing exponential expressions. So I have an example there that says x to the 6th divided by x to the 2nd. And we're going to see how to deal with that in the directions that I have listed here. The first step says to expand the top, or the numerator. So the numerator is this guy right here. So we're going to expand x to the 6th. So we would do x times x times x times x times x times x. So the second step says to expand the bottom, which is the denominator. So this is the bottom here. So we're going to expand that. So we're going to put a line, and expanding the denominator, x squared, we're going to write as x times x. The third step says to cancel the same number of like terms on both top and bottom. And so if I look, I have an x here on top that can cancel with an x on bottom. I have an x up here that can cancel with this x down here. So if you look, there are no like terms on both top and bottom now because the two x's on the bottom have canceled out. So that's all the further that I can take that. And the last step says to simplify your answer. So once you have everything canceled out, look at what's left over in your answer. So if I look at what's left over, you have just this that's left over, which you can write as 1, 2, 3, 4. So you could write that as x to the 4th. When you are in simplified form, you should not have an x on both top and bottom, or in the numerator or in the denominator. It should be just 1x, 1y, 1z left over. Now we're going to go ahead and do some examples, and you're going to see these in GMM. You'll record on your paper while I record them with GMM. So example 1. This example is y to the 7th divided by y cubed. So we're just going to go straight to expanding. So we're going to write 7 y's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're going to divide that by 3 y's. 1, 2, 3. And again, to divide with exponents, we cancel what looks like on top with what's on bottom. So if we cancel this one, we're going to cancel this. We're going to cancel this, we're going to cancel that. We're going to cancel that, we're going to cancel that. What are we left with? Well, we're left with just this. And so what is our answer? Our answer would be y to the 4th. And that's what we're going to type in GMM. Example 2. This example asks us to simplify y over y squared. So y we can't do anything with, so we're just going to leave that a y. And then on bottom we have y squared, which means y times y. So we're going to write that as y times y. And then we're going to cancel what looks like both top and bottom. So we can cancel a y, we can cancel a y. And so what is my answer? There's a common error that happens here. It looks like we only have this on the bottom left over, but we can't ignore the top. So the top we would have to put a 1. So our answer to this would be 1 divided by y. We can't exclude a numerator. So if everything in the top of the fraction cancels, then we have to put a 1 there. So that's what we're going to type in our GMM. Example 3. This example asks us to simplify y squared times y cubed over y squared. So if you can't see a quick way, then just go ahead and expand. So y squared is y times y cubed is y times y times y. On the bottom you have y squared, which is y times y. And then you're going to cancel those that look alike. So you have this y looks like this y looks like that y. This is what's left over. And so what is my answer? It's going to be y to the third. That's what we're going to put in GMM. Example 4, simplify xy cubed divided by x squared times z squared. So again, we're going to expand out each of these. So on top of the fraction, we have an x. We also have a y cubed, so we're going to write that as y times y times y. On bottom, we have an x squared, so we're going to write that as x times x. We have a z squared, so we will write that as z times z. So what can we cancel? Cancel an x with an x. We have no other y's to cancel. We have no other z's to cancel. So that's what's left as our answer. What would be our answer? So we have this left on top. We have this left on bottom. So to write that as an answer, it's going to be y cubed over x times z squared, because you have 3 y's being multiplied on top, you have an x, and you have 2 z's being multiplied on bottom of the fraction. So we're going to type y to the third x z to the second. Example 5. So to simplify x to the fifth y to the second divided by y to the fourth times z squared times x. Remember, we're going to expand all of this. So x to the fifth is 5 x's being multiplied. Y to the second are 2 y's being multiplied. Y to the fourth are 4 y's being multiplied. Z to the second is 2 z's being multiplied. And then x is just x. So now we have to cancel. So if we see at the top, we have an x on top and an x on bottom. That's all we can do with our x's. Now let's look at y's. We have 1 y up here, so that'll cancel with 1 y down here, 1 y up here, 1 y down here. And so now let's write what our answer is. So on top of the fraction, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 x's being multiplied, so we'll write that as x to the fourth. In the denominator, we have 2 y's being multiplied, so we'll do that as y squared. And 2 z's being multiplied, so write that as z squared. So that's the correct answer that you're going to put into GMM. So we have x to the fourth, click down here, we have y to the second, z to the second. Example 6. This example says to simplify x squared times the quotient of z cubed divided by z to the fifth. So just remember that this is like saying it's over 1, and when we multiply fractions, you multiply top times top. So this is actually the same thing as x squared times z cubed all over z to the fifth. So we've seen these before. So we're just going to expand out the x squared, so x times x. We're going to expand out the z cubed, so z times z times z. And then we're going to expand out the z to the fifth, z times z times z times z times z. And then now we're going to cancel the things that look alike. So we can cancel this one and this one, this one and this one, this one and this one. And I just did up above and below. So what am I left with? So what's my answer? So my answer here is you have x squared on top over, and then you have z squared because you have 2 z's on bottom. So that's the answer that we're going to type into GMM. X squared, so x squared, and then z squared. Example 7. This one asks us to simplify x cubed times the quotient of x squared over z to the fourth. So now we're going to write, remember this is like saying 1, and when you multiply fractions it's top times top, bottom by bottom. So this actually becomes x cubed times x squared over z to the fourth, which then you're going to expand out. So x cubed is x times x times x, x squared is x times x, and then z to the fourth is z times z times z times z. And so now we need to cancel. There's nothing to cancel, is there? And so now we're just going to be bringing it back to an answer. So we're going to take this, right, and add our x's. So what do we have? We have 5 x's. So we're going to say x to the fifth. And on bottom, you have 4 z's. So you're going to say z to the fourth. That would be your correct answer. So in GMM, you're going to type x to the fifth over z to the fourth. You have 4 your turns. We need you to do these. This will help you know whether or not you understand the concept or not. Thank you. Have a good night.